Deion Sanders, Alabama, and politician Bakari Sellers. What do they all have in common? Well, let's talk about it. It's interesting what happened over the last few days. Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is good people? My name is JeffLightsYJr. here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, notification bell because we upload every single day. Now, there has been this big old debate ever since SWAC Media Day about about money games, essentially, that take place with HBCUs and Power 5 schools, and specifically referring to Jackson State and Alabama. As we all know, Nick Saban had his fair choice of words for Jackson State about paying players and yada, yada, yada. They seem to have cleared all that up. They're back on Aflac commercials. They're good to go. But all of this stuff was sparked back up because there was a question asked. Now, think about this. This was asked to Coach Prime about playing Alabama. And Coach Prime was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not ready for a team like Alabama. He's admitting they wiped the floor with us. But give us a year, give us a couple of years, and maybe we'd be able to do something. But right now, no, we're not ready for Alabama. I'll let the man, you hear the man in his own words, what he had to say, and then how Bakari Sellers kind of threw his own hat into all of this. So this is Coach Prime being asked about playing Alabama. Let's take a listen.
Could he potentially play in Jackson State? What does that mean to you?
He's not going to play us right now. We're not ready for that. No, not with him. We're not into sacrificing our kids to get a check. He got to give me another year. I got to get beef up in the front. The difference of Power 5s and HBCUs right now are those big guys in the middle. It's not the quarterbacks, it's not the receivers, the DBs, or the skill position, but those big dogs in the middle. We got to beef up that to be able to compete with something like that.
Yes. Okay. So that was Coach Prime admitting we're not ready for no Alabama. Alabama just played the national championship game. Alabama is the premier college football program in the entire country. Alabama in the last 15 years have won 7 national titles. So think about that. I don't even know why this is a discussion, but let's talk about it. Alabama is the premier, not one of, they are the premier team in college football. 7 titles in 15 years. They're the cream of the crop, creme de la creme. They are it, right? They're it. And so, obviously, he said what he had to say about the Crimson Tide. And we know Coach Prime has tremendous respect for Alabama. Like I said, Nick Saban is a guy. He admires Nick Saban as a guy. He, kind of models his coaching after as far as he wants to win and be considered a winner like Saban in that regard. And so this sparked, conversation about money games, HBCUs and money games. And that led to some people saying, oh, Prime is scared of Alabama. Coach Prime is scared to go play a team like Alabama. Coach Prime this, Coach Prime that, Jackson State this. And I don't think it's a thing about being scared. I think it's just smart. I mean, I think it's just smart. If you don't have to play that game and go out and get killed 63-10 or get killed 49-3 or whatever the score may be, I don't know. It's going to be lopsided, and most of them are. Then why go play it? Now, some people, the other side of the coin is, well, when you play a team like in Alabama, or for example, South Carolina State plays Clemson a lot, right? That gives them a chance to get their players on a stage in front of NFL scouts that they may not have had a chance to play in front of before, i.e. Jacoby Durant played against Clemson last year. Now, granted, they lost and it was lopsided, but Jacoby Durant had 2 interceptions. A couple of years ago, Darius Leonard was a little-known NFL prospect at South Carolina State. They play Clemson. He has 20 tackles. Think about that. 20 tackles against a team. I think that Clemson team went on to win a national championship. And so having 20 tackles against the eventual national champion put Darius Leonard on a lot of NFL scouts boards, and he goes 2nd round. Jacoby Durant goes 4th round out of, after having, obviously he had a dominant college career, but that one game That one game put a lot of eyeballs and put him on a lot of draft boards he wasn't on before. And there's been a number of examples like that. But we're specifically talking about HBCUs. But one that comes off top of my head was Khalil Mack. When Khalil Mack was at Buffalo, another small FCS program, he had like 2 or 3 sacks against Ohio State. And Khalil Mack's draft stock skyrocketed. People knew who he was then. His draft stock skyrocketed. And he goes, first round, top 5, I want to say, top 10 in the NFL draft. And so there's pros and cons to both of them. But what Coach Prime is saying, like, I don't want to sacrifice my kids because in some of those games, one, you're at a complete competitive disadvantage. Why? Because they have 85 scholarship players and you have 65 or 63 or something like that. So right there, sheer numbers, you're at a disadvantage. Just off sheer numbers. They have 85, you have 63. So that is part of it. Second of all, they have better resources, especially you're not just playing an FBS team. Some of these schools like South Carolina State are playing the Clemsons. Some of these schools are playing Alabama. Some of these schools are playing teams that will be competing in the college football playoff. So they're really, really good. Like they're just not kind of good. They're really, really good. And he's like, I'm not willing to sacrifice my kids, go out there and get them hurt for a check, because the main reason why the FCS schools play the Power 5 schools is because the Power 5 schools write them a check. The Power 5 schools write them a check for, $300,000, $400,000, $700,000, $750,000, sometimes up to $1 million to play those games. They write big old checks for you to come in and essentially supposed to get your head busted. So I get why Prime saying is like, yo, we can make money in other ways. We don't have to play that game, at least not yet. He's not saying he's not scared. He's scared to play the game forever. But Prime is in his his second full season at Jackson State. He's saying we're getting players. We're just not getting players at that rate to go play that team right now. Yeah, we got Travis, and yeah, we got some big-time transfers, but we're not ready yet. Give me a year. All the man said was give him a year. All he said was give him a year. So there was that, and it kind of died there. There was a couple of people that went back and forth a little bit. The South Carolina State fans, and rightfully so, had their, talk their ish like, yo, we play these teams, and it gets our guys drafted. That's why we, at South Carolina State, have the biggest contracts in all of HBCU. We have the players that are getting the most money, from the Darius Leonards of the world to the Kobe Durants and et cetera, et cetera. That's why we are able to get guys to the NFL, because we're willing to play those games and we aren't scared. And the Jackson State fans just had to eat crow on that. Another thing, though, to think about is South Carolina State has had their same coach in place for like 20 years. So, like I said, Prime just said give him a year, but South Carolina State, they get a chance to talk that ish. Now, here is where Bakari Sellers comes in. So Bakari Sellers, I think he was a former politician. I don't know exactly. I think he's like a CNN guy now. He's a former politician, I want to say. And this is where he comes in, because this kind of got funny. And he put out some numbers, and then some people went out at him, but this is where he comes in. So we just watched the clip of Prime talking about how his team just ain't ready, and admitted, he knows he can admit, it's like, yo, we're not ready to play no Alabama. And so Bakari Sellers, now granted, that question was asked to Prime. He didn't come out and say that. Someone asked him about Alabama, and that's where the answer. So that's where I think we have to also take that into consideration. He says, why folks, this is Bakari Sellers, by the way, with 500,000 followers on Twitter, I want to say, why folks talking to Deion Sanders in Jackson State about Alabama when the last time they stepped on the field, they got mollywopped. He got out coached, and the QB was seeing ghosts. They got destroyed by South Carolina State and lost halftime. Damn, that's a shot at the bands, boy. Alabama? It better be UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. And so, and I thought this was just funny. Now, here's the thing, JSU fans. Y'all are going to continue to hear the South Carolina State, and I think Bakari Sellers is from South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, but you are going to continue to hear the South Carolina State fans forever. Like, that loss in the 2021 Celebration Bowl will never go away, ever, because even if you go and you beat them this year, they still have that win. So shout out to South Carolina State, because they're going to continue to let you know in 2021, no matter what, like there's nothing you can do to redeem for that loss. That game is over, and they will forever have that against you, period. You were the Goliath, and they were David, and they took you down. So you just got to get used to folks always bringing that up, because it's always going to get brought up. It's just the way sports works. Just like, you know what I'm saying, the Patriots 18-0 lost to the Giants. You know what I'm saying? Even if you go and the Patriots went on to win other Super Bowls, but that still happened, right? So he says that. And then Prime responds. And he goes, I prefer Dolce and Gabbana cologne, and you should try it because all that hate got you smelling hate. Thanks for the focus and the mentions. It blows us up even more. Bakari then responds and says, where are you at, Bakari? Where are you at? He says, Prime, you ain't refuted one singular fact. 31-10 last time you put the headphones on. Side note, are we 21? Get some Creed cologne. We are grown. And I just thought this was all funny. Yeah, so Bakari Sellers he's a former South Carolina House of Representative. And he has nearly 400,000 Twitter followers. And so that brings up, like I said, it's all centered, it's all about preference. Do you prefer getting on a stage with a team that you have inferior talent to, but more NFL scouts? Or do you prefer playing teams that is more up along your competitive line and feeling like you can get your guys to the NFL that way? It's all about preference. I think Bakari was out of line because that was an easy, like I said, Jackson State's an easy target when talking about the Celebration Bowl, especially for people from South Carolina, because you will always have that win over them. Not only did you win, you won in dominant fashion, and no one can take that away from you. But this is a new season. I think Prime and Jackson State is focused on the 2022 season, while Bakari and some others are still taking shots at 2021. But if you're a JSU fan, you're just going to have to get used to that, because that is one thing that you cannot take away from the South Carolina State faithful, the people of South Carolina. Like, you can never take that away from them. As I said, your preference is your preference. If you feel like the money games are beneficial both financially and getting your guys on a stage, you have a point there. To me, if I'm Prime, I understand his approach because, one, his school isn't desperate for money since he's been there. Now, in years past, Jackson State has played money games. But as long as Prime is there, I don't think they will play too many money games simply because they are able to have other forms of revenue. They are the most talked about HBCU when it comes to football. They do get the most press because of who their head coach is, because of what they're able to do on the recruiting trail, and because of what they're able to do on the football field. Obviously, they got blown out by South Carolina State, but this team went undefeated in the SWAC. This team won the SWAC East for the first time in a long time. This team won a SWAC championship for the first time in a long time. This team was very, very good in the SWAC, and now this year they're looking to be dominant. But if you're South Carolina State fans, you say, hey, our thing works for us. We won the MEAC, we won the Celebration Bowl, and if you look at HBCU contracts in the NFL, our guys make the most money. So I'm not saying either one is better than the other. I just understand where both programs are coming from. I just understand it. I get it. And, after 20 years, maybe Prime will be able to challenge, I know Prime will be able to challenge those NFL earnings rankings if he's at Jackson State for 20 years, like Coach Buddy Pugh's been at South Carolina State for 20 years. You get what I'm saying? But that takes nothing away from Coach Pugh, because what he's been able to do in 20 years, Jackson State over the last 20 years just hasn't been able to do. Now, Prime is there, and things already look a lot different, and will look different moving forward. But I understand both concepts. It's just about what you prefer. If I was in Prime's position, I would prefer his approach over the others. But everybody's not in that position. Everybody is in Jackson State. No other coach is Deion Sanders. So I get why they do what they do. And if you're a Jackson State fan, you're just going to have to learn to live with the fact that anybody from the state of South Carolina, or that is a South Carolina State alum, graduate, fan, supporter, whatever, is going to always hold over you the fact that they were the big underdog and that they went to the Celebration Bowl with literally no one besides the good old people from their state predicting that they would win. And not only did they win, but they won by 21 points, which happens to be Prime's number that he made famous. So you just got to learn to live with that, because that ain't going away ever. Even if you go and you beat them by 21 points in this year's Celebration Bowl, they will always have Celebration Bowl 2021. And that just is what it is. So as long as you're not sensitive, you'll be good. But they're going to always have that to talk about and to brag about, and rightfully so, because they went out there, they earned it, they won, and they delivered. But I thought that was an interesting thing. I thought Bakari Sellers, he is what he is. He's an interesting dude anyway. So it is what it is. But this football season, the fact that even topics like this even get brought up lets you know the anticipation for the 2021 football season, not just for Jackson State, but for all of HBCU football. Because there's other SWAC schools like, yo, y'all forgetting about us. Whether it's the Gramblins letting the world know that we still own the SWAC, whether it's Coach Willie Simmons and FAMU letting everybody know that, game 1 or September 4th, the Orange Blossom Classic it could determine who wins the entire SWAC conference, not just the East, but the entire conference, and everybody else who wants to improve and players to look out for. Ooh, I just cannot wait. Cannot wait. These storylines are cool to talk about, but the actual games coming back, you can't beat it. You just can't beat playing the games. So leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you a fan of money games, or do you like more of the approach from Coach Prime? There's no wrong answer. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Leave your thoughts in the comments and hit that thumbs up button. Once again, my name is JeffLightsYJr. with the Black Boss channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. That is Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Peace.